And welcome again to the Dave LewAllen Podcast. Great to have you with us today. And today we're going to talk hockey with a Hall of Famer, Larry Murphy, former Red Wings defenseman, 21 seasons in the NHL, played with 6 different teams, won 4 Stanley Cups, 2 with the Penguins, and then in finishing his career, his final 5 seasons in Detroit, back-to-back Cups with the Red Wings in 97 and 98. We welcome Larry Murphy. Great to have you here. Thank you for the time.
Oh yes, I'm looking forward to this process. I'm just a little concerned what you have in store, but I'm sure it'll work out okay.
It's going to work out just fine. It's basically sitting around telling stories of 21 years in the NHL, and you got to have some stories spending all that time in the league.
Yeah, it's interesting when I think back. My time in the NHL. I also think back farther when I first started playing. Yeah. So it was. I retired. I think it was 40 or 41 when I retired, and it was a huge part of my life. Right from I started skating as a 5-year-old, and right to the day I retired. It was all consuming, so to speak, and I wouldn't have wanted to have it any other way. So you talk about stories. I mean, there's stories all the way along. Right from day one when my dad asked me if I wanted to play, and the local league was for 6-year-old boys, but they were short. They needed 4 or 5-year-old kids to round out the lineups, and he came to me and said, "Do you want to play?" Yeah, my brother played, so it was like one of the most memorable days of my life. That I was just so excited, and so I go out day one, never skated before, never, and they had a draft selection, and they used half the ice. It was an outdoor rink, half ice, and what they had all the kids skate around in the zone, and the 4 coaches would just based on, that's how they tried to get parity, based on how well the boys skated. That's how they picked. So I start off. There's 4 teams, so I think there's like 60 kids out there. So there's 60. And I'm still out there because once you're picked, you're pulled out.
Yeah.
So I'm still out there, and the numbers dwindle. We're counting. We're counting down. Yeah. And I was the last kid picked, and I remember too how it didn't matter. I got picked.
Yeah.
And so I start the league. In the league, never skated before. Coach says to me, "Well, maybe I'm playing defense. Maybe if the puck goes down to the other end, maybe you're better off. Just wait. At our end until the play comes back, because it'll take me a half hour to get down there." Yeah. So that's how I started to play, and fine tuned my the sweep check. So my dad tells me this story, or did tell me this story. The guy would come down, and I'd do the sweep move and just stand. I wasn't moving the stick, and figured that was my best chance of trying to. Of course, the boy, if he was smart, he would, just basically skate around. But
if he could.
But then, to be honest, by the end of that season, my dad put a rink in our backyard. I was right up to speed with all the kids.
And little did you know at the time, right? 5 years old, first time, excited that would be your position, and you'd wind up in the Hall of Fame.
Well, it's through the years, I started as defense. I played forward for a number of years, and fortunately for me, I was a forward right up to, I'd say I was 14 years old. I played a number of years as a centerman, and tried out for the team the following year. And the coach says, "Well, I just don't think we got a spot for you on forward. When you go back, let's see how you can play defense. We'll go back there." And then I made the team as a defenseman, and then I never looked back from that point on.
Yeah. All right, we're going to get more into the career in hockey for you, but because of your job now, which is studio and game analyst for the Red Wings on the Bally broadcast for the Detroit Red Wings, and where we are in this season, this is a huge week for the Detroit Red Wings. Trying to make a push to a playoff spot for the first time in 7-8 years?
7 years, yeah, exactly. It's an exciting time to say the least. Some might say a little too exciting, considering where the team was,
right.
4 weeks ago before they had that rough patch Dylan Larkin get injured, and team never really able to kind of compensate for that. And now they're back finding their stride. And as you say, they got Washington, they got Pittsburgh, two teams they're fighting with. I mean, we've got 5 teams fighting for 2 playoff spots. So excitement down at Little Caesars Arena, and you can feel it. Last week against Buffalo. I mean, just the excitement. And when the Rangers were in town, just the excitement of the fans. And I talk to people all the time, different environments, whether it's outside of the grocery store, or what have you, or at Little Caesars, and you just the question is, are they going to do it? Are they going to do it?
Well,
and then
control their own destiny right now, at least.
Oh, that's for sure, Dave. They of course they went out. They're going to make it. I mean, what's that? 5 games left, I believe, and I don't think it'll take that to do it. But you're in that in a position where you're battling other teams. Well, you want to play those teams, and they get, as you touched on, right? They got Washington, Pittsburgh are with them, of course, and there's Philly and the Islanders, the other 2 teams. So they got it. It's excitement at Little Caesars, and we haven't seen it. And
right.
We haven't seen it in that building. I don't think the Wings have never played a playoff game in that building.
No. So how about the growth of this team? Clearly, the play has been elevated this year in a positive way. We're seeing Simon Edvinsson now on defense, one of the young guys. There's a pipeline, hopefully that's going to supplant some of the veterans that are there in time and make this a stronger team. Clearly, progress made. But if they don't reach the playoffs, is that going to be a huge disappointment for a season that has been better, frankly, than some expected?
Since Steve Yzerman has come in, the team has improved every season, without a doubt. And this season is no difference. Now, the disappointment will come because of the fact that they were sitting in the playoff 4 weeks ago or 3-4 weeks ago. They're sitting strongly in a playoff spot, and now they got themselves in the battle for it. And the disappointment will come because they were right there. Yeah. But when you look at the big picture for the organization, Yzerman's achieved exactly what he said he wants to do every season, improve. You talk quality, Evanson. You mentioned Evanson, just a talented young kid. Boy, he's really he's used his time in Grand Rapids this year. Because coming into the season, Yzerman had a couple veteran defensemen. He had Petrie come in, Gossesphere come in, he had Hall come in. So it pushed Evanson down to Grand Rapids. But when you look at it, what's happened now, he comes back. He's a much developed player now than where he was at the start of the season. So it paid off putting him in Grand Rapids. Now he's a fixture on defense.
Already being relied upon in key situations.
That's the you get taught. Coaches talk about players, but the proof is how's this player being utilized? Like you can. Talk is cheap, so to speak, and you can say, "Oh, this guy's great. This, he's doing fan. We're so excited." Well, basically, you look at what he's done. You look at the minutes he plays. You look at the responsibility. You touch on what LewAllen puts on him right now at this point in his career, and boy, that's the proof of confidence. Not the post game press conference where a coach says, and I'm not saying coaches are BSing, but they always talk. They try to put a spin on. They always put that. But hey. He's playing key minutes, as you touched on, and that's, to me, that speaks volumes.
What else, generally speaking, about this season and that growth, that development, what has impressed you most to this point?
It's just the depth of the lineup. It was 4 or 5 years ago. Boy, you just felt like they're struggling to get 20 guys out there that are NHL caliber players. Now it's a case where there's tough decisions in terms of the lineup. Who's going to come in? I mean, Sprong have sat out games. I mean, go through the lineup. There's a number of guys that have sat out just because it's just a crowded roster. Look on defense. Hall has hardly played this year. He's an NHL defenseman. There's no room for him. Right. He's just the odd man out.
Signed to a 3-year contract.
3-year deal.
Expecting that he's going to be in the lineup.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to be back in the NHL, whether it's here or somewhere else next season. We'll see. But I mean, these tough decisions, and as coach says, they love that. Love that problem. They love versus trying to find enough bodies, and so that the Wings have got to that point now. They got the 4 lines all can score. I mean, if we want to dig deep into the situation, I think the fence is has been not as strong as it should be. Lyon has been talk about just coming into the season. He was third goalie signed.
Yeah.
And they started the year with 3 goalies on the roster, which is very, very, very rare that you have 3. And thank goodness
they did. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Lyon has now stepped forward with Husso's. He's had some pretty devastating injuries, and he's thank goodness for Alex Lyon. That's one reason why they're in the race.
Well, there's certainly a competitive NHL team again, which is great. And if we can make that next step and get into the playoffs and eventually win a series and hopefully continue to progress that way.
Oh, yeah.
So that's for the future. All right, let's look back. We talk about Edvinsson, young guy, spent time in Grand Rapids, Swedish player coming over to when you were drafted in 1980, 4th overall by the LA Kings, 18 years old at that? Was it 18?
I was 19 at that time.
All right, and you never played a game in the minors. Played a game in the minors. Look, I guess the league was different, in some ways, but never played a game in the minor. Came right in, played 80 games, 76 points in your first season, one of the highest totals ever for a defenseman in the NHL as a rookie. Looked easy, didn't it?
Well, it was. I look at I mean, it was a great situation for me. It's not, it's never easy, of course.
Of course.
If you assume it's easy, then you got yourself in some big trouble. If you take that sort of approach. But talking about the year I was drafted, this was the time when the draft used to be 20 years old, and then because of the NHL would love to have kept it at 20.
Yeah.
But because of people were challenging it in the court, I'm 18 years old. I should be able a right to earn
in the
all
NBA.
this, all the other sports.
Yeah.
So they stepped it down. It took them 2 years ago from 20 to 18.
Mm-hmm.
So my draft year was actually 2 draft years at once, and then the following season was the same thing. It was 2 draft years at once because it got condensed. So that's what happened. So anyways, my draft year was very deep. And a lot of, twice, I would say then, twice as many guys played in their first year in the NHL. And I was fortunate enough myself to get in. I was, as you say, I was picked, I was 4th overall from LA. But talking about the experience, I mean, at that time, there wasn't, the center ice package or the NHL.
Yeah.
I don't think I saw the Kings play the year before. I mean, I was in Ontario, I was in Toronto, so all I got to see was the Maple Leafs, whoever they played, and sometimes Montreal Canadiens if Toronto was on the road on the Saturday, which was very rare.
Yeah.
They seem to have the lock on the schedule. The Canadian teams, they got the Saturday night games. It's no
Hockey
longer
night
the
in
case.
Canada. Yeah.
It's no longer the case. So I get drafted by a lot. I go to the draft in Montreal. So it's
Great experience.
What a great experience. Yeah. I mean, you have an idea where you're going to get drafted because the NHL Central Scouting puts out a list. So, I mean, of course, there's guys that you might drop. Guys drop 5 or 6 spots.
Sure.
I mean, fortunately for me, I basically came in where I was rated by the NHL. But the thing was, I talked to other teams. I talked to they interviewed me in Winnipeg Jets and the Chicago Blackhawks, even the Montreal Canadiens who picked 1st overall. I talked to them. I never talked to LA. So I never assumed. I just assumed they just weren't interested. Yeah. But no, I end up my 4th pick overall, the LA Kings, and for somebody that spend your whole life. I mean, the dream. I don't know how many as kids in the backyard playing. How many times I scored that the Game 7 Stanley Cup winning goal out in the backyard. So it was what a moment to be. To go down there and put on the wings of the sweater or the King sweater and off and running and very fortunate situation. They made it quite clear, which was fantastic right from draft day. You're gonna play. Just get yourself ready. They wouldn't even let me go to my junior hockey team I was playing for. We don't even want you. We don't want to take a chance of getting hurt, because their camps start earlier, and a lot of times guys, and even today, they'll go to their camp and then go to the pro camp, but they said, no, we just want you to come to LA. So they really gave me, I felt a lot of confidence going in and belief in me. And It worked out great. I got my career going off and running.
Boy, you sure did. Your first defense partner, Dave Lewis.
Oh, yeah.
Former Red Wings player, 1,000 games in the league as well. Assistant coach for the Wings for years while you were still playing.
Yeah.
And then ultimately the head coach and a friend to this day for both of us. But that had to be somewhat comforting also to have, a coach in a sense as a defense partner.
Well, he's an experienced NHL player, played a number of years with the Islanders before he was traded to LA. For me, a perfect situation. Dave Lewis was an excellent coach, and as a player, he was the same. I mean, he was a guy that I leaned on a lot, and he whether it was a question I had, and plus also on the opposite side, if he saw something, he would point it out. But always, and Louis, his the Mr. Positive, and I say that in a positive because a lot of people look at that as, maybe that's not the best way to always be, but. He was able to point out the reality of the situation, but at the same time, he always had that ability to kind of say, you can do it, and you believe, he believed in him. So it was a huge impact on me playing with him. My first season, I couldn't think of a better type of player than him or a person to be a partner with. I mean, I could have played with the Norris Trophy winner of that year, whoever it was, Dennis Potvin or whoever won it that year. I don't think it would have benefited me anywhere as much as playing with Louis.
Well, as we mentioned, 76 points, which at that time was close to the record. I guess Mark Howe is the only defenseman as a rookie who's scored more points than you.
No, I'm going to stop you right there, Dave. I still hold the record.
Do you?
Yes, I do.
Was that
Mark Howe had the record because Mark came in before me.
Oh, good.
He had the record, and then I remember Ray Bourque broke it the year before I did, and then I broke it I came in the next year after Ray Bourque, and I got the record.
Fantastic.
So, and it almost got broke again. McCarr in Colorado. What a tremendous player he is. Yeah. He actually ended up missing. He got hurt, missed 5 or 6 games, and that made I played every game that season, and he came up a bit short. But I take pride in that. Why not?
Sure, absolutely.
And the funny thing is, you always you always hear a guy will say, if his record's going to be broken, and he'll say, well, I'm happy it's. When my record gets broken, I'm not going to be happy. I don't care who it is. I got, congratulations, for them. But hey, don't come to me and say, am I happy for him? Because I'm not.
Well, but what a run at the top of the chart in that way. And for your career, 1,615 games, 1,217 points. That's 5th all time for defensemen. 5th all time. I mean, that's incredible.
It's.
You played forever. Come on.
Just tremendous injury. Fortunate injury department. Yeah. I never had any surgeries or never had any sort of knee issues. That can slow you down. Have an impact on your longevity and also on your production. So I was very fortunate in that situation. It's interesting how you talk. Like when you come into the league, what your goal is. Like I never thought I'm going to play 21 years or
how could you, right?
And I never going to play. I never thought. I never really. That wasn't a goal by any means. I just wanted to hang in there, and that was my process right through as a kid. I always, I was never the best player on the team, or I was a good enough player. I mean, don't get me wrong, but I was never like the best guy in the team or top guy in the league. Or I just kind of every year, I just moved up, and then the next thing you know, I'm, and it's people ask me, well, when do you know you're going to play in the NHL? And it's. It wasn't until I played my second year in junior was my draft eligibility year, and it wasn't until we were halfway through the year when I started seeing these lists were central scouting lists. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm right there. And that was kind of the moment where I took it. I thought that hey, it's within reach now. Throughout my life, it was never the case. I just plugged along. So
well, and you say you're never the best player, but you won a Memorial Cup in junior hockey. You were on a World Championships team as a junior. You were on Canada Cup in that famous series as well, and 4-time Stanley Cup champion. I mean, you were pretty good, and you did an awful lot of winning.
Well, winning fortune. I felt like I was a part of it, like a contributing factor. But I mean, I played until I got to Pittsburgh in '91. I was traded to the Penguins, and it was talk about like I thought was interesting. Kind of sums up life in the National Hockey League. I got the call. I think I got the call around 11:30 in the morning. From the general manager of the North Stars. It was Bobby Clark at the time, and he said, I've traded you to Pittsburgh. We traded 2 defensemen went one way, 2 defensemen went the other way. They said they need you to play tonight. They don't have, the 2 of their guys are coming our way. They need to play. Okay. He says, can you catch a flight? It was like a 1:30 flight.
Wow.
And it was like get to the airport, race to the rink type of thing.
Yeah.
But the point is that I got the call. I got 2 suitcases, filled them full of clothes, walked out the door, and I have never laid eyes. And I owned that house. Never laid eyes on that house ever again in my life. I mean, I went to Pittsburgh in the meantime. Wife sold the house, arranged the movement, got out there, I've never laid eyes on. So It's funny. It's like
life of the NHL.
Yeah, it's like if you're at home right now and somebody calls you 11. Okay, you got to leave the house in 2 hours. You never. I mean, that's kind of
never returned.
Never returned to see it. So
that's amazing. Well, a fortuitous trade from a professional standpoint and personal standpoint. Look at that team you were joining and the success then that you had.
Yeah, it was a great team. It was
Mario and
Lemieux,
Yager. Coffee.
But we had, we were, you can go, we had Trache was there. I had 4 Cubs with the Islanders. It was a Joey Mullen. I mean, you just go on and on with the lineup. And it was very similar getting traded there than getting traded to Detroit, because Detroit was a real heavily talented team. The Illich family, they were knocking on the door. They had a couple, close calls. So, and then, the year before, for a couple of years now, so they really wanted to get over, try to go over the hump. So they were doing whatever they could, to try to do that. And I came in during that environment. So
at the trade deadline,
which is talk about another a story, which to this day kind of gives me the shakes. I had a no trade clause. I was with the Maple Leafs. And I get a call at 2:45, and I have to waive my no trade clause to be traded. That was 97. Cell phones today, it's glued to everybody's hip. Like, hey, look, yours is on the table.
Right.
That's the way it is. I'm right here. It's
part of our life.
It's part of it. At that time, I mean, cell phones were there, but you didn't, I don't walk out of the house without it. At that time, you do.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately for me, I had the phone with me at that time. I didn't know that I was going to get traded or possibly get traded. I didn't know that. So, but if I didn't have that phone with me, and if they couldn't reach me within those 15 minutes, they couldn't have traded me, and I would have missed this huge opportunity with the Wings. So of course, I get the call. It's at Cliff Fletcher's GM. Then, I can trade you to Detroit if you're willing to trade your clause. It was like 0.2 seconds. I go, and I was well aware of Detroit. I'd played for Scotty before in Pittsburgh, so it was an opportunity. Like, whoa, I'm there. And what a great point in my career. I've spent 5 years here in Detroit. Just great years, great teams, 2 cups. So very fortunate.
And you come in, and your defense partner, as I remember, was Nick Lidstrom.
Well, I played most of the career here. I played with Nick. I did start though. I actually played with when I first got here. Scotty was kind of moving me around with different guys. I think he was playing Vladdy Konstantinov with Nick at that time, and then I was there for. I don't know how many games, maybe 10 games in. That's when he made the move. Then he started playing me with Nick. But I played with, of all people, Sergei Fedorov.
Yeah, that's
on
right.
defense
Yeah.
for a couple of games, which to me it's I don't have the great memory, about playing, or about anything. I'm not I'm not a person that can recite, what happened.
Like the golfers who remember
Every
single
shot, yeah.
shot right on the course.
Yeah, or those people that have that unbelievable gift so different things resonate, stick with me. And playing with Sergey, I enjoyed that experience so much because he played that position like no one I've ever seen before. He was effective, because
Yeah,
he was
yeah,
such
yeah.
a talented guy. But
Yeah.
I was with him for 2 or 3 games, and then I eventually got to play with the great, one of the all-time greats.
Yeah,
With
yeah. Well,
Nick
two
Litcher.
all-time greats in this
Oh,
case. The two of you paired
yeah.
together. So you win the 2 titles in Pittsburgh with those great teams. You come to Detroit. You win back-to-back again. I mean, aren't many players who've won back-to-back Stanley Cups in 2 different cities. I don't know how many, but
It was
that's pretty cool.
It was very, of course, it was very fortunate, without a doubt. It's the toughest losses I've ever had in my career were in Pittsburgh that 3rd season where we didn't win, and here in Detroit that year after, in '99 we didn't win. You just got you're addicted to that. It was much tougher losing out after I'd won the cup than I had earlier in my career. I mean, you're when you get knocked out the playoffs, you're disappointed, and you are really. But once you know what it feels like to win it, I mean,
you're capable again.
Yeah. You know the formula or whatever it takes to do it. To not get it, it was much more. From that point on, it was very, very upsetting every time I lost out in the playoffs, because I just knew, until you do it. I mean, you really have. I guess you have some sort of idea, but you don't in whole know what it means. I mean, it's the NHL playoffs is a marathon. It's a grind. You spend those 2 months. I mean, of course, you have to get there.
Yeah.
First of all,
And only half the teams make it.
yeah, half the teams make it. You get into that playoff grind, and I hear the expression, "This is when the fun begins." Well, to me, it was never fun. Playoffs are never fun. It's the most rewarding time, and it's fun at the end when you finally win the ultimate prize. But you play a game, you win, you go into the dressing room afterwards. Yeah, it's great, let's win. Well, it's like 10 minutes later, that next one's coming, and the next one's coming. It just there's really no moment where you can relax and go, "Oh, this is fantastic," because you know what's coming next. So to me, it was a very rewarding, but very stressful and a very grinding time.
But to win those at the end of your career, or near the end of your career, back to back like that, it's like you don't know that there's going to be another opportunity, right? So I hope you were able to somewhat relish the moments, though, right?
It was interesting. Jaromir Jagr, you mentioned him in Pittsburgh, won his first 2 years in the league. He probably came out after that, probably figured, I'm going to win it every year in my career. He never won it since. And that guy played with 25 years, like an incredible amount of time. Never won it again. So it's the special. Detroit was special in the sense it was an original 6 city. It was the first time I ever won a cup at home, win the cup game. And just they hadn't won it. I don't know how many. Was it 42 years since the last time the Wings won the cup? So the city was. It was. I thought the roof was going to come off at Joe Louis against the Flyers when we won the cup in Game 4. It was the most incredible moment for me in my career. Was that just the way the city. Of course, the parade was exciting and out of control, and it was just to win it in the original 6 city. There's no other place And I look at the Maple Leafs. I mean, they haven't won it since '67. When that day comes, I mean, that's going to be an incredible moment for that city. But I don't know when they always find a way not to do it. So
I'm reading right now the book 1967, which is about the Leafs, that team when the last time they won. The book's a number of years old, but I'm reading it and enjoying that. And I mean, obviously, a lot has changed in hockey in the NHL since that time. But yes, for Toronto, the epicenter, if you will, of the hockey world, maybe in many people's eyes, along with Montreal, of course, to not win. Now, your experience there before coming to the Wings, I mean, you grew up there, you get to the Leafs, yet, and your numbers were good on not very good teams, and yet you took the brunt of some of the abuse, if you will, from the fans in Toronto, unhappy with the team overall. That had to be hard, wasn't it?
Well, I came into Toronto. They had a couple of years where they had some good teams, and the year that Gretzky was with the Kings, they knocked them out in the semifinals, and then the Kings ended up losing to Montreal when they had a sniff there that year. So the fans were getting excited about it. And then when I got there, the team was was heading in the other direction, and I loved it. I mean, I grew up in Toronto. And as I touched on earlier,
Leafs, right?
Oh yeah, that's all I saw as a kid was the Toronto Maple Leafs. I was a huge fan. I knew every guy in the team, and so it was quite an honor to play for the Leafs. The funny thing is, my dad, just a little side note here. My dad grew up as a Montreal, diehard Montreal fan. Hated the Leafs. I grew up in Toronto. My dad worked for Bell Canada and was transferred to Toronto. So before I was born. So loved Canadians, hated the Leafs until that's the thing. The moment when I got traded from Pittsburgh to Toronto, I found we were watching the NHL draft. I got traded at the draft table.
Okay.
That's how we found out. In that moment, my dad became a huge Leaf fan till the day I got traded to Detroit, and then became the biggest Leaf hater in the world. So again. So, but it was an honor playing in Toronto. I loved every moment of it. I wish we won more. I mean, that's rising tide lifts all ships. Sure. I mean, there's. The only way to solve what was going on in Toronto was if the team won more, and that wasn't the case. So, but I was proud of how I played, and as you as an NHL player, you have to always look at yourself, how you're doing. You can be skewed by the team's success. You think you're doing better than you really are because the team's so successful, and on the other hand, you can think you're not doing it as well because the team's not doing as well. So you always had to keep your head on straight. And I thought I did a good job in Toronto. Confidence never waned, and I was happy with my level of playing. Yeah, but I did take heat at different times about the team not winning.
So
it was still a great experience.
Yeah. So but when that time for the phone call from Cliff Fletcher. I mean, was that a welcome move?
No, I wasn't looking for an out, and there was a lot. I mean, I can't really remember. It was. I'm sure it was a short list where I was willing to go.
Yeah.
It had to be. It would have to be a team that was knocking on the door.
But Detroit, you didn't expect still though to be.
I didn't expect it. No, I didn't. I mean, Detroit was the best scenario.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the. Career-wise, I mean, probably the greatest phone call I ever received. We can trade you to Detroit. Yeah. And it worked out well. I mean, it was just a tremendous franchise, tremendous fan base. It's still that way now. I mean, it just they're the diehards. I mean, they're there. They're out there. I mean, they know they appreciate they understand. It's a very knowledgeable. Fan base, they know. And when you get into the salary cap situation, you can't avoid this with your franchise.
Right.
The Wings had to go through the rebuilding, and they're now on the way back. So it's an exciting time for everybody, all fans.
21 seasons in the NHL, play for 6 different teams. That means you had an awful lot of teammates over the years. Friendships are formed. Are there friendships that endure to this day from some of those teams and experiences over your long playing career?
It's interesting how after you play for, I played for 6 teams, and as you go along, you get hardened to the fact that
it's a business.
It's a business, and you don't know how long, for whatever different reasons, how long you're gonna be with the team. So. I remember coming to Los Angeles. I probably say that one of the closest guys, if not the closest guy by the name of Jimmy Fox. And Greg Tarrant, 2 guys I lived with my first year. They were both rookies also. Greg's fortunately has passed away, sadly. But Jimmy Fox is still a good friend. Really, and it's endured over these years. He played different teams. I mean, Jimmy played I think he was in LA for 11 years and then had a back issue and had to retire. Now he does TV. Does TV for him. That's a close friend. It's fun. I I thought at the point, I mean, I had friends on every team and
Sure.
enjoy, but it always is how it affected me. You always felt in the back of your head, that this is just going to be for, and I'm moving on. It's really, it wasn't like I wasn't a reclusive or didn't participate. I mean, I was right in the thick of things with everybody, but always thought that, this is just a temporary sort of thing. I had that feeling, which is I wish I didn't, but my closest friends, I went to grade school. I have guys that I went from kindergarten to grade 8. In the same school, and we're actually every year we get together.
Is that right?
And friends since 5 years old, whatever.
Yeah.
And still, everybody. It's funny. Everybody. Only one guy still lives in Canada. One guy's in Texas. One guy's in Kentucky. I mean, it's just it's amazing how of course that's another time how life works. But I I would say you guys that when you're with a team though, kind of there's always players that you're. You were closer to some more than others. You had mutual interests, so you became friends. And if you had a family, that it depends. You're probably more close to away from the rink, associating with guys like I was married.
Sure.
When I was married, was guys were married, and
Right.
that's that kind of how to operate. But
and
they're still friends. I tell you one thing though, when you win a cup with a team,
there's a bond there forever.
There's a bond for life.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, Sky said it before, and I can't remember at what point he said in the playoff run in '97. He said, we're in a crunch. It wasn't the final series for sure because we were, things went along as good as we could hope.
Rolled through that one.
And he said, you'll rue the day, if you don't play or commit yourself as much as possible. Now, of course, that's not a question of outcome. It's a comment of outcome. It's a comment of what you put into it, and it really resonated. And so Cup guys, like we've gotten together. I mean, I think it was this year or last year we got the Cup teams.
Yeah,
I mean, what a tremendous, see guys, and you pick up where Bobby Rouse. I love Bobby Rouse when we played together here. He's out west. It's not like I talk to him every day, or I don't talk to him at all, really. And then I see him, it's like, oh my God!
You just pick right back up where you were.
Yeah. So as you say, you're bonded for life. On a championship team.
This has been great. So let's wrap this up with your playing career ends. 2001, I guess it was. 2004, you're in the Hockey Hall of Fame. You could have moved anywhere, any of the 6 cities, I guess, 5 other cities that you played in, or back to Toronto. But like many other former Red Wing players, especially those teams with success, you've chosen to stay here in the Detroit area. Why?
Well, there was I got remarried here, but that was well after I'd retired. I'd already and my wife's from the area, so her family's here, so we're really tied in, ingrained that way. But to that point, I had opportunities to leave, and I love living in Michigan. I had an opportunity to work. It was Fox at the time. Now it's Bally Sports. that was something that was enticing, but I love living. I just love living here in the Detroit area, Michigan. So it was all the combination of those things, with big reasons why I can continue to stay in Michigan. It's interesting. You talk about the moment of the hot, which talk about how special moments. Of course, was the Hall of Fame.
Sure.
And I went in the same year as Ray Bork and with Paul Coffey. And you mentioned Coffey. I played with him in Pittsburgh. Paul and I. We played minor hockey together.
Oh, is that right?
We were kids growing up playing hockey together. And then what's the chances of getting in the Hall of Fame and getting in the same year? So, it's very. I love it here. I love my job.
And
look, I'm a huge fan of the Wings. So hey, why not?
And your former teammates are involved, and Ozzy and Yzerman and
I see Darren McCarty. I see him all the time, and we play some alumni games. I see Mac all the time.
Draper.
See Drapes, Malpe. They're busy, of course, in the Wings organization. There's a lot of guys here that. I go down to a game, if I'm in the alumni room, you always run into a bunch of, which is nice. You always run into a bunch of ex-teammates.
Yeah, that's great. Well, you had a fabulous career. doing great work now on Bally. Enjoy that very much, watching and listening to you and the team there. Thank you for this. It's been great reminiscing and hearing some of the stories that help make a career and a life. And boy, what a life in hockey Larry Murphy has enjoyed.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. This is I was warned. This might not be a good experience, but no, thank you. What a great opportunity to talk about things that mean so much to you.
Yeah, well, we'll do it again too.
All right, thanks, Dave.
Thank you, Larry Murphy, our guest here on the Dave LewAllen Podcast today. As always, we thank you for joining us. If you like what you're hearing, give us a like and subscribe as well. We're on YouTube and all of the podcast platforms. Certainly enjoy and appreciate your support, and tell a friend as well. Thanks to our producer-director, Josh Bowron, and we'll see you back here again soon. Be safe, be kind.